Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Vach Lombardi, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, Season 21, Episode number 18. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from Oxnard, California. We're moving through camp. We're close to being halfway here. We got about, I think we have 2 weeks as of tomorrow. So we've got a lot going on here, a lot happening. They'll have practice today and tomorrow before another off day on Friday, heading into a practice day on Saturday. All right, got a lot we're going to get into today. I have most of our show, I think, is going to be eaten up by injury talk because there's a lot of that going on right now. But quite frankly, it's not as bad as it possibly could be. There's certainly, I think, a lot of optimism within the organization after what could have been really devastating injuries that ended up not being so. So let's start first.
You want to introduce Tommy? Like, that's not Bodge. I'm sitting here.
No, he doesn't
I mean, just a quick guy. No, but at least, I don't know.
Actually, not only am I going to introduce him, but Tommy, it is your birthday today. Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you,
Happy
sir.
birthday.
Yeah. And what do we give you for your birthday? We get to let you come sit in with us and talk some football.
I appreciate it.
That's what we do around here. But let's talk about Tyler Guyton. Obviously, the news initially when he left the field was not good. Everyone was really concerned that it could be a lot more serious. I know, Brian, you and I talked a little bit about it. I was actually in some meetings with the Joneses, and so there's a lot of consternation going on. People were really concerned.
Give us some behind the scenes.
I was your source when you're in a meeting with the Joneses?
Well, you have
all right.
I'm talking to Nick.
I'm glad I was able to help you.
I was talking to lots of people.
I'm glad I was helping you.
But it was one of those moments where there's a lot of tension, and I think everybody was really concerned because there's been a lot of thought that, you're expecting he's going to be better this year. You really want him solidified in that position as your starting left tackle, and then he goes down, and the initial thoughts were, oh my God, this might be pretty serious. Yeah. That being said, looks like it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks. Possibility he could even be back for week 1 of the NFL season. Let's start first with what were you seeing from him as of last week before the injury, as far as his progress from the things he was able to do last year to what he was doing at the beginning of camp this year. I'll start with you, Tommy.
Okay, perfect. I think that when he went down, it was on the day of his best practice yet. I think he was having his best day yet. I think you look at the opening week, he was still you could tell that it was just early training camp reps. He's getting back into the swing of things, and it was up and down, and we saw good reps, we saw bad reps, a lot of what we saw throughout the season last year. There was a lot more bad than good in the season last year, but you kind of saw it starting to balance out, and then the other day is when he was you could really tell, like, hey, he's slowly but surely starting to put it together. He's having a really good day. So obviously the news that he's not out for the year is good, but the important thing to remember there is he's missing very important reps. And he had said, he missed last year with some injuries and illnesses, and the fact that he didn't get those reps either certainly wasn't to his benefit. But at the end of the day, you're just happy that you've got your left tackle still.
Yeah, first off, Dr. Dan Cooper is human. You know what I mean? Human, and like he usually doesn't miss these.
No, he doesn't miss these.
He didn't miss these.
He
things.
does not miss.
I've known Dan a long time. Yeah. He is one of the best doctors when it comes to this in the country, and the fact that he said initially this thing looks like it might be torn, but it's funny because we had Stephen Jones on yesterday on 105.3 The Fan, and he even brought that up. He said Dan doesn't miss very often. I've been with Dan a long time. He doesn't miss. Tommy's got this guy absolutely right. What you're seeing, last year he was surviving practice. Last year he was surviving reps. Last year he was surviving games. He didn't have the body control. He didn't have the balance. He didn't have the knee bend. He didn't have the hand placement. He was fighting to survive every rep. These practices, they haven't always been perfect, but what you got out of him was much better hand placement, much better feet work, or footwork, excuse me. When they were asking him to cut the back sides off and do things, when you were, those are the things that, to me, when you watch an offensive lineman and he looks very natural in the way he moves, that's something. His strength is still not great, but the way he's able to use his technique now and rely on that is helping him so much. And as Tommy says, missing these reps are really, really going to hurt him, but at least he has the positive thoughts of some good practices. It wasn't like he was a liability. He was doing the things he needed to start at left tackle. So hopefully when he gets back, he can carry those things into the season.
Yeah, great news that it's not all season long, but it still sucks really bad because just like you guys said, the timing of it, he needs to go in here and get those reps. You're trying to solidify an offensive line that you were hoping to count on him. And I'm with you guys. Like he was walking in here looking a lot more comfortable. When someone just walks with more confidence and knowing, okay, this is what I gotta do. He still needs work, and that's very evident. But you still see that line going upwards, trending upwards for a guy like him. So it's just terrible timing for the team right now. But again, great news that he might be. I think week 1 is kind of pushing it. Again, I'm not a doctor. I haven't looked at him or anything, but either way, the fact that they're still hoping to count on him for the season is great news.
I think the word confidence and comfortable were really something that played very well with him. Yeah.
So which players, as you look at kind of how the Cowboys will adapt to this, which players now get the increased reps in practice? And in addition to that, who do you think is best in position of replacing him if the recovery lingers into the season? Who do you think is most likely to be that starter in week 1 if he's not playing?
Stephen Jones threw us a curveball yesterday. He was on with us on 105.3 The Fan, and Stephen Jones said Nate Thomas is going to be the first one out of the chute. And so to me, that was interesting because I know Vach has done a lot of work with the offensive line, and I was talking with him last night. I said, man, Stephen told us it's Nate Thomas. He goes, yeah, makes sense. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, this could be about a guy playing with power. I think Vach is on to something. I think the coaches, when you watch and you go in there and watch, they're like, Clayton Adams is working with Nate Thomas, like the drills are going on and then he comes off. Connorelli coaching the line, but behind the drills is Clayton Adams talking with Nate Thomas about, okay, hands, feet, punch. He's kind of working with him that way. So I personally thought, guys, that it was going to be Awesome Richards, the veteran guy. And even with Adeniji and what he's done on the right side, filling in, man, there was not a drop-off at all with him playing on that right side of it. I thought, well, they'll kick him over. But it looks like guys are playing this thing left and right.
Yep.
But to me, very, very surprising. I think Vach might be onto something, that they're going with a guy that maybe has a little bit more power over there than what Awesome Richards has. At least he'll get the first shot.
Real quick before I move to the other guys to answer that question, Brian, you say he's playing with more power.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week.
Bigger body guy, right?
Yeah, last week we were talking, though, about what did we think this run scheme was actually going to be.
Power gap.
Is it a power game at this point? That really, that's the scheme, is they're going to have a power run game.
I think when we, and I'm just, these are just the 6 practices that we've got to watch. To me, how they run the football is going to be really predicated on the 3 inside guys. I think they're going to really lean on BB, Smith, and Booker. And those backs, they're going to press it and they're going to cut it. And those tackles are going to cut off the backside. They're going to reach. Maybe they combo block with tight ends. They've shown heavy personnel formations. Look at how the 49ers run the football with Kyle Juszczyk. It is Hunter Lipke. I'm not saying Hunter Lipke is Kyle Juszczyk, but it's similar. It's a motion, and now they've got bodies at the point of attack. And now you've got, Sanders. Sanders has shown up pretty well in these camps. Blue, when they've handed the ball to Blue, he's shown up in these camps. So to me, I think it's going to be an element of we want to be stronger. And maybe, Vach, you might be right about this, buddy. Maybe they're looking at the guy that has the most power to play that left tackle spot right now.
Yeah, and I think what what Clayton Adams and Connor Riley and even Brian Schottenheimer want to do is get these big fellas on the move. I mean, we saw Terrence Steele pulling the other day and getting
He can do that.
And he can do that really well. He can do that really well. But as long as Guyton's out, and even, when Guyton comes back, it wouldn't shock me at all, like you said, to have some help from the tight ends and put those combo blocks. So you've got 6 guys up front. I mean, we've already seen a couple of offensive linemen line up as tight ends. And Brian Schottenheimer talked about using that. So, you've essentially got 6 offensive linemen out there on the field. One of them's just an eligible receiver and lined up as a tight end. So I don't know if we're gonna throw the ball to him. I wouldn't advise that. But nonetheless, just getting these guys moving so that, like Brian said, you can just overpower defensive fronts. But then, the only catch to that, I think, is, do you get too predictable? And does your offense maybe get a little bit too one-dimensional at times if you're trying to establish that point of attack, run the football down your throat? And how do you break off of that? How do you incorporate the play-action game? How do you incorporate the deep passing game? So all things that Brian Schottenheimer and his staff are going to have to figure out here in the next couple of weeks as they navigate Guyton coming back.
The one guy, real quick, Derek, and guys, the one guy that's played really both sides, they've kind of shown that they're playing left and right. We haven't seen a lot of – the only one has been Awesome Richards, but he's also, as Tommy mentioned, he's also been the extra blocker, that they've used. Sadiq Charles also has been used as an extra blocker in those things. I'll tell you what, I was I was just sitting there thinking, 9-on-7, no 9-on-7. This coach is talking about, and I'm thinking, how are you going to learn how to run a football if you don't play 9-on-7 football? He plays 11-on-11 football here, and he does. And he goes out and he runs 11-on-11 running plays. And that's how they're getting better at it. There's been times where this team has been very, very good running the ball. And on the flip side of that, there's been some times where the defense has been good stopping the run. It hasn't been just all a one-way street here. I think both sides of the ball are doing a pretty good job against each other.
I was reading some comments of some fans wondering and asking, like, what is going on in these practices? So how do you prevent some of these injuries? You got Terrence Steele. I mean, he's back on the field, working back in there, but then you have what just happened with Guyton and then Rob Jones. I don't have an answer to that. I mean, it's not like they're killing them out there with these practices. I mean, they're just going through regular. Yeah,
but I also think you got to think about it from the standpoint, we're watching Cowboys practice. There are a lot of camps around the NFL where they're having injuries as well. There are quite a few of them that have guys that are out for the year already. And so this is not unique to the Cowboys. This is every camp. And I think coaches have to kind of figure out where their balance is. You want to create a tough team that you start to establish that during your training camp. You also want to keep guys healthy. Some coaches gear more toward, I'm going to do everything I can to keep everybody healthy. Some gear more toward, I want to have a really tough team, so I'm going to start establishing that in camp. And then you deal with whatever the consequences are that come out of that. I'm kind of the belief injuries are going to happen. They're either going to happen, they can happen now. They can also happen when the season begins. At some point, you're going to have to get physical. And so if you're not doing it at training camp and you keep everybody healthy to start the season, then it's my belief that at some point when you start the season at week 1 and 2, because that's going to really be the first real contact these guys are getting, you're probably going to get some of those injuries at that point.
It's also coming out of last year, though. The amount of injuries that the Cowboys suffered last year was an anomaly. Is that how you say the word?
For them, yeah. For them, yes. It was a rough year.
It was very uncommon for the Cowboys to get that many injuries. So I think it's also the trauma from what happened then, and now you're starting to see these injuries start to pile up this early on at camp that is just like maybe a little concerning.
And what's really interesting about that, you mentioned the injuries last year. Last year was also with a head coach that took care of his team. He took care of their bodies. He did not work them as hard as probably some other coaches did, and they still ended up. This is a physical game. It just happens.
He came out and talked about when he got this job that he wants to be a tougher football team running the ball. You cannot practice the way that Mike McCarthy did and run the football and learn and to be that way. And I'm not trying to kill Mike McCarthy here, but I watched the team, and we all watched the team that was the second seed in a playoff series and get smashed. And they were probably the healthiest that they had been all year, and all of a sudden, they've took healthy teams into the playoffs and it hadn't worked. If you tell me that this team can get tougher by having tougher practices and it can help them during the season, please sign me up. I think the injuries they had, the football gods have smiled on them a couple of times. When you talk about Span Ford's injury, could have been a lot worse, but those things happen. Football is a game where sometimes guys get thrown into the back of others' legs, and you take some shots, and that happens. So, give me these types of practices over trying to baby ourselves and then in the season we're trying to figure out, well, damn, this team doesn't have any toughness to it.
Yeah.
Well, this is where toughness starts here.
Yeah, it's the balance, and I know we're going to break, but it's always the balance of, do you keep guys fresh or do you keep guys ready to hit?
Yeah.
And in today's NFL, look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did last year and how they won the Super Bowl. Those guys hit up front. You got to be ready for that.
Yeah. Real quick, before we go to break, I do have one final question for you guys on Tyler Guyton. As a young guy who is still developing, we all were seeing some signs of things that suggested he was getting better, but certainly not a finished product.
Not at all.
Do you think that there's a possibility that when he's back, maybe you don't just have to throw him right in there, because you do have the benefit of, let's say it is Nate Thomas that'll have all these weeks of practice, maybe even a game or two. Do you stick with him and kind of work Guyton back in, or do you think Guyton gets thrown right back into the mix as soon as he's healthy?
I think a lot of it depends on how this rotation, if they figure out that, well, maybe it's not Nate Thomas, maybe it's Awesome Richards. Well, wait, maybe it's not Awesome Richards. Maybe it's Adeniji. And I think the absolute last thing they want to do is move Tyler Smith.
Right.
And I think that would be the worst thing. If it was, to me, Tyler Smith is break glass in case of emergency. You know, because I believe this with my heart. I think they're going to run the ball effectively because the inside three. I am not interested in breaking those guys up. I think the power they play with inside is going to be a strength for them this year. And put Tyler Smith at left tackle, I'm going to go through every one of my options before I get to that break glass moment.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I think that, the good thing is, if Nate Thomas is not the answer, they've got 3 weeks to figure this thing out before they've got preseason games to figure this thing out, to look at what they want to do. So I'm with you, Brian. You don't move those three guys because they're going to be road graders for you, and they're going to start in the run game. And then you throw Terrence Steele in there. I mean, if you throw double team combo blocks up front, that's going to be hard to stop with those four guys, right? So you can help the other side. You can help that. And when Tyler Guyton is ready and can come back, don't rush it. There's no reason to rush it. Make sure that he's comfortable. Make sure he's confident. We talked about confidence, and make sure, most of all, that he's healthy so that he doesn't risk further injury.
Well, something that Brian Schottenheimer mentioned like a week ago in one of his press conferences, he said every guy on here, even at quarterback, they're earning their spot. They're having to earn their spot. So that tells me that even if he was healthy, he would have had to be out here fighting for that spot to get. I mean, again, we assume that that's his spot, but you know what I mean, putting in the work and getting to that level that he needs to be, not just hand it to him. So that just gives me the thought of like, okay, once we get him back, I think they'll ease him in and not just throw him out there like, hey, survival mode. They'll work him in. And we'll see what's happening currently at the position. What if whoever is in there doing a great job?
Yeah.
I mean, do you just stick
hopefully
to
it buys
him
you time.
Yeah, it gives you time to
some
ease him
time.
in.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, we've got to talk about Kaelin Carson, a cornerback at that's a position. Obviously, the Cowboys have already had lots of injuries. We'll talk about how this is going to affect the team. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Life doesn't stop when the economy is uncertain. The market might not care you have a wedding to plan or a kid to put through school. And inflation doesn't know you've got a family to feed. But Bank of America does, and is here to help. With digital tools to help you save and local experts nearby, you can keep life moving forward the way you need it to. Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
Back to the break.
Choose perfection. Choose LG OLED Evo. Check out the best TV in the game at LG.com.
Welcome back. We are in the second segment of the break. We are live from Oxnard, California. This segment is brought to you by blockchain.com.
Ding!
Let's talk about Kaelin Carson. He has a hyperextended / sprained knee. Looks like he's out 4 to 6 weeks. I want to start this discussion similar to Tyler Guyton. What were you seeing from him prior to the injury, coming off of last season that was really up and down for him, a lot of tough moments for him, and then having to come into this camp and hopefully reestablish some of that confidence. What were you seeing?
Yeah, I think, you're going back to OTAs, he really was not doing a whole lot in team drills. This is a guy who was still recovering from season-ending shoulder surgery. You got a visitor there, Brian?
Yeah.
No, not anymore.
To his death.
But no, he's still recovered from season-ending shoulder surgery. So while he was on the mend from that, he was working with the rehab group and really doing more individual stuff. So training camp for him was, all right, let's get back and do this team stuff and see where he fits in this corner room. And, at this point, any of the four of us might have to go out there and play corner for these guys. I mean, they're getting to dire straits, really. I mean, you just saw him yesterday pick up a guy. So, we might have to work on our backpedaling during the break here next time and see what we can do. But, no, with Carson, I think confidence is a lot of it, right? I think he wasn't playing confident last year, especially after the Eagles game at AT&T Stadium where he kind of got picked on a little bit by A.J. Brown. And so for a young guy, it's always good to build that back up, and this is where you want to do that in training camp. He had some good reps, he had some bad reps, kind of similar to Tyler Guyton and how he was moving through the first week. But just with the fact that they have so many injured bodies at a corner, he's a guy who's going to see a lot more time with the ones and try to ingrain himself in there. And so, he's kind of in a similar situation with Guyton now, where he's missing important reps early in his career.
Yeah, this is there's two guys that couldn't afford to get hurt. Deuce Vaughn and this guy.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford it. He had to play. Had to, here's a guy, and Tommy did a great job of walking you through everything about it. And Tommy's right. There was some good moments in coverage. Now, we've seen some of these corners that have stepped up, some of the backups that have stepped up. I mean, Elam, who's not a backup, but we've seen some of these corners make plays out here.
Yeah.
Even Booth making plays, a guy who really kind of struggled last year. The thing with Carson, coming out of Wake Forest, heck of a player. I mean, everything about him screamed that he was going to be able to handle the job. He's competitive. He can stay with guys. He knew how to play the ball in the air. He knew how to knock balls down, stuff like that. We haven't seen any of that. I mean, none of that. And that's unfortunate. What we've seen is a player that's now for 2 years in a row has gone on the injury list. And it's unfortunate because this team can't afford to have injuries at corner. And they especially can't have injuries to a player that they were trying to get ready to help them in the rotation. So just another bad setback for him. I mean, he's not lost for the season, but you might as well be if, he needed these practices. He needed a healthy season, and unfortunately 4 to 6 on that sprained and hyperextended knee.
Yeah, and as I remember, this was a time in for him last year, where he started to get hot and catch a lot of eyes and started to shine, and during the preseason. And we were headed into camp. I remember from our previous shows, all of us thought that this would be a camp where maybe he will get back into shape and get back to that form and that guy that was catching eyes and making plays, and it hasn't been that case. And what concerns me even more is that when you see the group in the defense, the secondary making all these plays and building that chemistry together, it's been very exciting, and it can affect the player that's sidelined, that it's off to the side doing rehab and not being part of that, because I'm a big believer on like energy just is contagious, and it helps you build yourself up. And him being apart from, like, aside from that group, I think it's going to affect him even more. So really unfortunate, and I'm even more concerned. I asked you weren't here, Derek, but the other show I was asking you guys, how concerned are you at the cornerback position? Well, now I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know where we're headed this time.
They might have to chase something. They might have to chase some corners. I know people talk about, could you go get like Gilmore, a veteran guy like that. Asante Samuel Jr.'s out there, but he's dealing with some injury stuff that could this be? We saw them last year during camp chase the defensive end position. Could they be start thinking about bringing some guys in? And, but I mean, so far, the guys they've asked to play, and it's been okay. It's been, hey, I'm covering Pickens and I'm not getting destroyed. I'm covering CD, I'm not getting destroyed. There's been some positivity that way, but man, I feel terrible for Carson, because I know in the draft process, I thought they stole him. I thought a 3rd round grade, and they got him in the 5th, and I thought, man, they got him one. They got him a guy that can actually play, but the injuries have just been really, really hard, and the lack of confidence has been just killer for them.
I know it's obviously tough right now from the standpoint of injuries, but all things that we're hearing, at least regarding Diggs and Revel, suggest that they're on at least a good track. Yeah. Let's assume for a second that the Cowboys get them back on the field before the regular season begins. Let's assume on those two guys. If that happens, because of, like you said, what you're seeing from Elam for sure. Right. Also, what you're seeing from guys like Booth. There's some other younger guys that are kind of making some plays. Do you think this puts Kaelin into a tough situation from the standpoint of really being able to make the roster and actually be active this season, knowing that if those guys come back and they're healthy, the numbers get kind of heavy at that point when you start talking about the cornerbacks that may be ahead of him?
Yeah, I think yes. That's the short answer, right? Because, eventually Savon Revel's going to get healthy, and I think when he's healthy, he's going to be one of the better corners on this team. Yeah. It's just a question of how far away is he? Right. Is it a couple of weeks? Is it 2 months? That's the biggest question there. And then, of course, Diggs, who looks like he's progressing well from everything that we've seen on the practice field. But again, it's just is it September? Does it maybe stretch into October? When do you get these guys back? And so Andrew Booth was even a guy who went down after having a really good day of practice. So it kind of just depends on, how severe some of these other injuries are, right? And when do you get some of these guys back? Because right now the Cowboys, unless they do what Brian says and they go out and chase somebody, they might not have a choice but to bring Carson back and just say, okay, this guy is, what we've got, and he's what is one of the better options on our roster right now. And Ambar, you mentioned how at camp last year around this time, it kind of looked like he was starting to put it together. Do they believe that he can do that again and finally get his confidence under him? I mean, look at what Kyrie Elam's kind of the inverse, right? Yeah. Because he was not confident in Buffalo, and now it looks like he's found his confidence again. And you're seeing flashes of what we saw at Florida and what made him a first-round pick. So it's all about building that back up, and I think confidence in corners is one of the most important things that they have to play with, because if you don't have it, you're going to get burned.
No doubt. All right, let's take our final break. Actually, real quick, before we go to break, I did want to ask real quick, you mentioned Booth. Have we heard anything about that injury? He did limp off practice, off the end of practice.
I have not. We'll see if Brian Schottenheimer talks about it today, but he didn't. He walked under his own power off the field, went into the medical tent, and then we just didn't see him after that.
Okay. All right, let's go and take our final break. We will come back. We've got a couple of injuries I want to just get caught up on, and then we'll get to some practice observations. There have been a couple practices since our last show. I want to get some observations from you guys. Remember, we'll get some observations of moments and also of players. We'll do that when we come back. It's DallasCowboys.com radio.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break live from Oxnard, California. Teams getting their walkthrough in. They will have a practice this afternoon. I'm sorry, I guess it wouldn't really be afternoon if it starts at 11:45, but close. It'll be within the afternoon.
By the time they really start practicing,
it'll
be the afternoon, yeah.
Have that coming up this afternoon. Follow DallasCowboys.com and all of our social channels for all the updates live from that practice, throughout practice. All content that we'll be putting up there. You can check it all out on DallasCowboys.com. All right, so let's talk about some camp observations, some practice observations. There's been a couple practices since the time we had our last show. This is how we do it on the show, Tommy. I want you to give me a moment that stood out to you. Could be good, bad, whatever. Can also be a player, and then also a player that stood out to you in one of the practices over the last couple days. Let's start there.
Okay, a moment that stood out was Malik Hooker in the last practice that we saw. These are supposed to be thud practices, right? These are just...
Tell people what a thud practice is.
Yeah, so thud practice is essentially you're simulating a tackle but not finishing it through, right? You're trying to keep guys off the ground, so you wrap up, you pick the guy up, and
deliver a little hit.
Yeah,
thud.
and then you put him down. Like it's a thud. That's really all it is. Well, Malik Hooker did not follow that protocol when Jalen Cropper caught the ball in the backfield in the last practice. He just couldn't help himself. I mean, he closed in, and it was just he obliterated him. He just threw him to the ground and ran him over. Teammates loved it. Hooker was fired up. Brian Schottenheimer, not so much.
Defensive teammates.
Yeah, defensive teammates were fired
sure
up.
The offense wasn't happy.
Yeah, no, and neither was Brian Schottenheimer, and especially with the injuries that we've seen. But and then player that stood out recently has been Kevontae Turpin. I think the last practice he had a lot of great catches down the field, and something that he needs to do better at is, one, hanging on to the ball, and two, not doing too much when he goes and gets it. And I think he's still figuring out the second part of that, which is just not jumping in the air sometimes when he doesn't need to. But he's flashing the hands, and he's shown that they have shown at least that he's going to be a big part of this offense. They want to get him in space, but they can push him down the field too, because he's going to be a hard cover for a lot of corners and linebackers wherever you line him up.
Yeah, speaking of that real quick, I know we had a video where we had Coach Shoddy mic'd up, and I know on that he was talking to Turpin at one point saying, you don't need to jump there. Just stay on your feet. That's one of the things sometimes you have to work through with receivers is don't jump when you don't need to. There's no reason to leave your feet. Catch the ball.
And he's a smaller guy,
right.
So sometimes you feel like he probably feels like he needs to. So it's just a mental block that he's got to get over and trust himself and trust Dak Prescott to get him the ball in a serviceable place to where he doesn't have to do that.
Right.
The player, I'm going to go to the player first. Okay. And I know we're focused on this defensive tackle group, and everybody seems to be focused on Mazi Smith and kind of what's going on. And I think Solomon Thomas has done some really good things. But Perion Winfrey has been, I think, really, really good in these practices. And I say this in a way of that they're trying to kind of figure out, okay, what's the rotation going to be? And are they going to play with a little bit of a lighter front? And are they going to attack? We had a chance to visit with Matt Eberflus yesterday. He was on the podium for the coordinators, and you kind of got a little bit of an idea of how they were going to try and play things. And he even was talking about with Mazi Smith, everything trying to make him a little bit quicker. So that tells me that they are going to try and play maybe a little lighter. But Perion Winfrey, has been, I think, outstanding in these practices. Him and Solomon Thomas both, I mentioned them together, kind of a 1-2. But when you talk about these three techniques, and even more so than what I've seen from Osa, that the way that they've been able to play up the field, the way they've been able to attack, the way they've been able, and this is not against the backup offensive linemen that they're doing this stuff against. These are against Smith and against Beebe and against Booker as well. So those are the things. Those inside defensive tackles, a lot has been put on them. But I think you're going to get a scheme where it's going to be really upfield more than having that big-bodied guy. Would they like to? Sure. Right now, I don't think they have that guy. The moment for me is we finally saw George Pickens catch a deep ball, and we saw the ball. I mean, Dak, they will, take the snap, drop back, boom, and then you got Pickens working against Israel Mukuamu down the sidelines, ball thrown perfectly, the separation, the catch. We had a chance to talk to him on 105.3. The Fan had a chance to talk to Pickens. He's really excited. Yeah, the deep ball stuff he's excited about. But you know what he's really excited about? He's excited about a quarterback to get him the ball on the move. Mm-hmm. That's what he is really, really looking for. He's like, listen, everybody here talks about my deep ball stuff, but I could play on the move. And I think we've seen some stuff where he's gone, some of the crossing route stuff, Dak putting the ball in front and let him catch and let him run. So keep an eye on that. He's excited about the deep ball stuff, which will make huge plays that we saw the other day. But the across-the-field stuff has got him really excited in this offense.
Really quick, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think George Pickens is much better after the catch than a lot of people give him credit for.
I do, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My moment, and I don't mean to repeat players, but this is what caught my eye, Kevonta Turpin, there was a catch that he made in the end zone, and the way that he jumped, like that, I was like, bro, what is it? How is
that one he needed to jump for?
but it was so, again, granted, maybe he jumps like this all the time, and it's just that we're not standing literally in front of the play seeing it happen, but I had no idea he had that reach in him. The way that he was able to get so high up in the air, it just goes back to his athleticism that we continue to see, something that, you talk about size, and he makes up for the lack of size. He makes up in the ability to make these plays and catch, and he's been all over the field. So I think he's been having such a great training camp so far. A guy that you kind of mentioned, Brian, that I think is worth still talking about because he gets a lot of hate and criticism, Mazi Smith, continuously. I think fans want to hear that he's doing better, and he is showing up and doing and making some plays, and you see him doing some things in the run that has shown improvement in the way that he's been blocking. So I think he... I got flipped in the other head. He's not blocking, attacking. Attacking better, and just shows the movement with more comfortness. We talked about feeling more confident. He's another guy that I think is showing up here and moving around a lot better, creating that movement that he needs to do right there.
Can I ask this question of you guys?
Sure.
If just through the first week of practice, or as we go in. I know we're running 2 weeks, but it's what we've seen from the practices. Top 5 for me: Ezeraku, Sanders, Elam. I got Maris Leofau in this thing, and then I have Turpin as my 5th guy. Anybody
If
you
I
want?
have anybody, I would take.
And
that.
okay, Solomon Thomas is also a guy I considered. Peyton Turner's a guy I considered. I had Winfrey as a guy I considered as well. But if you had to say you're just your top 5, top 3, top 2, I when Amber was talking about she was talking about Turpin, I thought of him as a top 5 guy because of all the things that they're asking him to do. And you mentioned about the jumping part of it all, but he's caught the ball down the field. They've handed him the ball in the backfield.
Yeah. He's doing all kinds of things.
He's doing everything that they're kind of asking him to do. It's about time that we had a coaching staff that kind of sees the talent that they have and then try to put those players in position to play. I know it's coach speak, but honestly, I think they're doing it with this guy. But is there anybody like your top 3, 4, 5 if you got and those guys? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
No, that's fine. Ezeraku, Elam, Turpin for sure. I'd add CeeDee Lamb in there.
Okay.
Not necessarily shocking because he's CeeDee Lamb.
Okay.
But,
kind of I expect that from him.
Yeah, you expect it from him, but even still, what he's been able to do after the catch has been really good.
Yep.
Man, I'm trying to think of one more.
It's terrible radio when you do this to
No,
people,
I
but it makes you think a little bit.
Honestly,
I just was thinking about because I was putting together for my radio show, I was putting together my guys that I really like at practice, and I think I could say CD all the time. I think I could say Dak. I could say guys like that. But like I say, every time I watch Maris Leofau play, he's like knocking the ball out of somebody's hands,
screen,
or he's like stepping up in the hole and making a tackle there.
Yep.
I'll give you my 5th, Jaden Blue.
There you go.
I think he's been much better between the tackles than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for Jaden Blue and for the Cowboys, he hasn't fumbled yet.
Yeah.
He's laughing at everybody else getting the ball knocked out of their hands.
Right.
Like, hey, what about him? You guys were all
This
ripping
is
me for not carrying the ball very well, and now,
Now because you said it, he's going to start.
I know, right? I've just
fumbling.
jinxed him, but look, you also credit this coaching staff too.
Yeah.
I had some conversations with the staff earlier about, hey, with Blue, are you guys concerned at all about the ball issues, like
security,
holding
ball
onto the
security,
ball?
yeah.
And I was told early, no, we'll fix that. That's very clear that we'll fix that. So you got to credit Derek Foster, the running backs coach, and everybody else on the staff for, because you can tell in the way he's carrying the ball, he's protecting the ball better than he was at Texas. He would kind of just be lollygagging with the ball sometimes, and that's why he'd lose it. But you can tell that he's made a change in how he carries the football, and if you combine that with what he can do cutting, it's going to be he's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I like that 5. The one thing I would throw in, and this I don't think I would replace any of that 5. Really, the 7 when you add in the couple that you threw there. But I would give an honorable mention to Beebe. I think right now some of the things I've seen from him, I think he's a little more in control and in command of kind of what's going on with that offensive line. In addition to I think playing well out here. Again, I don't think he necessarily takes some of those other people's spots. But I think he's somebody that's still catching my eye, and I've been really happy with him.
Spanford could have been in that 5.
That's true.
Yeah. 7,
Yep.
but then he's missed the practice.
Schoonmaker hasn't been bad out here.
Schoonmaker hasn't been bad either, but I think right now, if you said give me the top 3 tight ends, it's Ferguson, it's Spanford, and it's Schoonmaker.
I'd agree with that.
Not to take you guys backwards, but I wasn't here for the tight end conversation. How did you guys feel about the deal that they gave to Ferguson? From the standpoint of what
really,
you also
Derek?
have. No, but the reason
you
why.
tune into the show and listen.
No. Well, here's the deal. I don't know if you guys went here, but I actually, as I was thinking about it, I was like, do you think that this has anything to do with what they think of Schoonmaker or Brevin Spanford? Because I look at those 2 players and I'm like, maybe they could develop into top starting caliber tight ends. But this contract tells me that's probably not going to happen.
You know what? Yeah, the room. It's funny because a couple of years ago we were talking about Stevens. John Stevens. We're like, boy, this guy. He's doing this. It's now an uphill climb.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's Ferguson, Spanford, Schoonmaker, and then now you've got Hunter Lipke playing the move or the 4 or the I think it's going to be all these other guys, unless they do something really dramatic in practices or in these games. I think it's going to be an uphill fight for these guys. I see some practice squad guys more so than I see guys that are competing for one of the 53 spots.
Yeah.
I think with Ferguson,
I like the deal, by the way. By Ferguson.
Yeah, I like the deal too because he's been such a good safety blanket with Dak. And you're basically putting him in line with Dak's deal too.
And you didn't have to pay a top tight end
right?
money.
And you got the deal done early. He's the 7th highest paid tight end in the league, so you got fairly good value for what he's done, and you're showing confidence in him, and that's going to boost his confidence, which I think is a big part of it too. But as far as the other tight ends go, I think in today's NFL you're going to see a lot more 12 personnel and get 2 tight ends out there, maybe even 3 tight ends, and you just load it up on the line of scrimmage, and you put 2 guys on one side, you put 2 on one on the other, and whether that helps you in the run game or in the passing game, it's going to help. I mean, look at what Chicago did in the draft this year. They signed Cole Kmet a couple of years ago, and then they go and draft Colson Loveland at 10 because they want to run more 2 tight end sets. So don't be shocked if they do that here. But yeah, I think Span Ford right now is taking that next step and really is showing something. So hopefully he comes back healthy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, you need one more than just one tight end. I mean, and you're going to have to utilize these other guys. So I think the deal, it was great. I'm glad they got that done. Please get the other one done. What are we waiting on? Like, what are we doing here? You
want a 5th mic, Shotty?
Oh my God.
We got room for you.
Always.
Why don't you make a sign? Why don't you give me a heads up that he's walking right behind us?
Oh, good to hear you.
Well, we didn't see it.
It wasn't like you were saying anything. You weren't saying, I hate the coaching staff. Like, it wasn't like you were saying something.
He actually,
you never know. I'm like, make this freaking deal
he was
done.
doing his
Get
best
this deal
version
done.
of Spider-Man.
And
He was climbing the wall there. What he was doing.
Fight him over here. Okay, well, next time let me know.
The greatness of Shotty.
And I'll lower my voice.
I was hoping he would just, actually, I was hoping he would just pop up and just like, Tommy, give me the microphone.
Yeah, just
and we were just going to
kick
go
me
for
out.
it. We were literally going to be
place.
like, Chris, we're not ending the show. We're going to go for another 15.
I know my place. I'll step out.
All right, that's a wrap. We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back on Friday. We'll wrap it up for Brian because Brian will be heading back to Dallas. We'll get into next week. We got a special guest next week coming to join us, Nick Harris, who used to be a part of this show. Is going to be joining us next week for a couple of our shows. And then the show will flip back to Dallas the final week of camp. I will be the only one left out here. I'm going to hold it down and do all the work for a week when Amber's back and the rest of the guys will be back there. So they will do the show from back in Dallas the final week, and then we'll be into it. We'll be ready to go. All right, for the crew, for Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, for Tommy Yarsh, happy birthday to Tommy.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back on Friday for the next show of The Break.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!